So this will be short, but not YouTube short, but I talk fast so you can turn down the speed dial in your video. We're going to talk about Flutter messaging classes and their native peers. So there are three message types or communication platform channel types there are between Flutter and native mobile, and those are method, which is a remote invocation call, message, which basically sends a message, and then an event, which is a broadcast. And method calls actually can return a result, just like a method. Messages, you can actually reply if you want to. And then you have broadcast streams, which are events. And I just want to point out that event streams are very different. Methods, you invoke them. Target method, message, you have a listener. And events, you have a stream. So you actually end up hooking a stream, not like a listener, but anyway, it's a little different. And so those are the three types. And my question always was like, all the teams, Flutter iOS and Flutter Android team do their own documentation. So you have to go into their docs and then click around. And then if you want to get an idea, like in my case, I actually wanted to make an iOS and an Android app that talk to a Flutter app. This counter example that'll be in the repo that's referred to in the video description. So you have method channel on Flutter with Flutter method channel on the iOS class that corresponds to that. And then the Android class is called method channel. And then you can see the same thing. So for the Flutter class, for the event channel, event streaming, really, you have Flutter event channel on Android. And then you have the basic message channel. So this is actually for sending a message, not a method call, not an event. And then those have basic method channel in the names for iOS and for Android. And then they have codecs. And this is actually something I feel like is kind of poorly documented. There's no macro view. So whenever you make a method call, that actually uses a method codec, and you need to use the same method codec on both sides, the Flutter side and the iOS or the Android side. So the two standard codecs are the standard method codec and the JSON method codec, and there are iOS and Android equivalents for both. My example, because I'm like weird because I'm like not a mobile person, I do messaging. And so in my case, whenever I send a message, there are four currently at the time of this YouTube video, there are four codec types for messages: standard message binary codec, JSON message codec, and string codec. In my case, all my examples, I tend to use the JSON message codec, but some people might do binary types, and I have no idea what the standard one is because I haven't used it. But those are the codecs for method invocation, for messaging. And then it turns out if you're doing event stream, they actually use the method codec. So the method codecs are used for message calls and events, which kind of gives you a feel what's happening under the hood. And then there'll be a link to the GitHub repo that this came out of, and in the description. And that thing is basically this. So that's what I got for you, and I hope that was useful to talk a little bit about the codecs and the classes that are used for messaging, method invocation, and event streaming. Have a great